So let's just get straight into this. This is a video of how to do the perfect class 5 restoration. And, when we look at these teeth, these are really, really unusual cavities. I believe possibly this is non-carious tooth tissue loss, a little bit of abrasion, maybe a little bit of erosion. So let's get straight into it. The first thing, of course, we need to do is we need to place our rubber dam. And with anterior teeth, I do like to multi-isolate teeth, and this is for a few reasons. Really, it's just to stretch the rubber dam really, really far back, so you've got enough space for your aspiration, and also, it just gives you lots and lots of view. You can view the rest of the teeth to see the proportions that you're doing with these anterior restorations. And basically, what I used to do is used to just stretch the rubber dam over the teeth and then mark it. Now I just mark it sort of arbitrarily. So in this case, I'm marking it from the 5 to 5. I'm stretching the rubber dam over the teeth, and I'm getting my nurse with her 2 fingers just to keep it stretched over as I place the clamp over. Of course, I haven't anesthetized this far back, so I've just got to be really, really careful I don't hurt the patient while I'm doing this. And as I kind of have a little bit of a twist around, what I don't quite notice is that this left clamp is starting to slip away. So as I readjust my rubber dam frame, the clamps pings straight off. So I've just got to get my nurse to give me another little hand just to stretch it over and make sure that the rubber dam clamp is is over the kind of eminence of the tooth itself. A lot of the times as well, when I'm sort of clamping my rubber dam, I always clamp it in such a way that the frame will sit quite high, where it's sitting over the nose, and the patient might be biting on the bottom of the frame. So I just get the rubber dam on, and then I readjust the frame so the patient's not biting onto it. So we're ready to do our restorations on these teeth. I'm going to start with the upper left two, and this is it's difficult to know if this is. It looks like an abrasion cavity. The rubber dam isn't quite tucked into the gingival crevice of this tooth, so I'm going to have to manually move the rubber dam out of the way with my finger. That's absolutely fine. We're ready to etch. And a lot of the times, what you should be doing is you might just etching the enamel first. This cavity is really, really small, so it's difficult to kind of do that selective etching. But we wash it, we dry it, and we can see now that it looks really nice and ready to put our restoration on. It's at this point I need to check my the color I'm going to use. So I'm just using A3 here. I'm going to use it under this polarizing light that I use on my microscope, and then A2. And then the polarizing lens on the microscope stops any sort of reflection, so it makes it easier for you to see exactly what the shade should be. And I think in this case, it's going to be A2. So I am going to bond the cavity, and then I am going to choose my A2. And when you are placing your restoration, you don't want to place it in little tiny blobs. You want to get yourself a big sort of monoblock of a blob of composite, and then you want to make sure that that sets nicely. Now you can get away with this because the C factor on these types of teeth are really is really, really low, because it's just a surface cavity. If you use tiny little blobs here and there, you'll notice the lines between the two layers of composite. And then obviously aesthetics in anterior teeth is probably really, really important in this case. I then pick up my glycerol, but for some reason it is very, very, very runny, and this is quite annoying because I haven't got time to get another tube, so I just do my best to sort of put it on and set it. And regardless, anyway, I have to give this a bit of a polish with these white stones. So I'm really, really a huge advocate of these white stones, and this is better than, say, using a diamond tipped fast handpiece burr. But mainly because with those fast handpiece diamond tip burrs, they create micro grooves as you're sort of polishing the restoration out, which to the naked eye at first you don't really notice it. But when you come to polish it, like say with this polishing wheel now, you'll notice it more. So those white stone give a really nice sort of polished finish before you do that really high polish. And we can see now the upper left 2 is all ready to go. We're gonna treat the upper right 3, and it's essentially just this exact same protocol as the upper left 2. So it's just the same etch, bond, polish. And once we've completed those 2 teeth, we're gonna go on for the main event. And these are the upper left 1 and upper right 1. I noticed that the rubber dam doesn't quite fit around these teeth, and I want to invert the rubber dam to inside the gingival crevice. This ensures that I can see the whole tooth, just really for proportion. That's all. I want to make sure that I'm getting my proportions correct. And once we've inverted the rubber dam into the gingival crevice, I just need to remove some of the staining that's occurred within this within this cavity. So I'm just using an ultrasonic. I don't want to use this ultrasonic too much though, because I don't want to damage the dentin, because an ultrasonic is really strong. But I'm just removing likely tea stains from this tooth. And if you leave stains underneath a cavity, it can affect the overall color. Of course, it's not very great. And I'm taking the unusual step here, just to use one of these polishing wheels, just to give the dentine enamel a good old polish. So these teeth now are ready for our bonding protocol. So it's the same as the other 2 teeth. We're going to use our etch and bond. But before we use our etch and bond, our bonding protocol, I do want to check the color again. So we're using A3, we're using A2, we're using the polarized lens, the middle one here. This is A3.5. And I think overall the A2 shade is probably our best bet. If the dentin at the base of this cavity was, say, a little bit darker, then I'd probably go for a lighter shade. So this is to counteract the sort of darkness and the translucency through the thin composite that you're going to place. But when we look at this tooth here, we can see that the shade between the enamel and dentin is pretty much kind of the same. So we can get away with that using that identical enamel shade match. And then a really good tip here, which is, we're all taught this at university, but we kind of forget, is I want to be beveling my margins. So I'm using this diamond tipped fast handpiece here. It's a very smooth grade, and I am just ever so slightly beveling all of the margins of where the cavity is. And we do this because if you were to have a kind of a match, like a sort of knife edge match between the enamel and the composite, you'll notice the join between the 2. So when the patient smiles, you can see that obviously, even though you've matched the color correctly, the color match will be slightly off. If you kind of bevel these margins, you'll have this kind of nice grade up. And what this will do, this will camouflage the join between the enamel and the composite itself. I'm also kind of having a look at the small fracture and the distal aspect, this upper right 1. I'm just going to give that a bit of a polish as well. So we're all ready. In this case, the cavity is large enough to do our selective etching. So I'm just going to etch around the enamel margin for now. Let that kind of settle in. And then some people don't like to etch the dentine as well. I'm not so bothered about that. I also get a little brush and give it a quick clean as well. I feel like this cleans the cavity quite nicely, as long as you're not using the etch for too long. And then we're now ready to do our bond. And I make a small mistake in this case. I don't bond. I don't protect the mesial contacts, these 2 upper centrals, which will come apparent later on. So we're just going to do our etch, bond, and light cure. And then I'm just using this pearl flowable composite A2, because I feel like the base of the cavity is quite rough, and also I want to get all into the kind of nooks and crannies of this cavity, because if I go straight for my sort of putty type composite, it's not going to get into those kind of nooks and crannies, and it'll cause voids and things. So remember, I'm now using the kind of compule composite, and I don't want to do this in tiny little increments. I want to have one big monoblock, nice sort of the same layer. Because remember, if we use little tiny bits, it'll show up within the two joins between the two composite layers. And then I'm using Signum, which is kind of a modeling kind of liquid to sort of coat onto my instruments to make sure the composite doesn't stick to my instruments. And, we can see here the upper left one's looking really, really nice. But I am now ready to do the upper right one. So I give it a good old nice bit of composite there, and I try to place my clear strip between the two teeth, and I realize I haven't protected the contact point between the two teeth when I was doing my etching and bonding protocol. So I'm not going to overly be concerned about that because I'm going to sort that out in a minute. I'm just going to do my best not to flow much of the composite into the mesial aspect of this tooth. Luckily, the margin of the cavity doesn't reach into this contact point. Remember, I'm just giving it a good old smooth out. And then, of course, I'm going to use a clear strip on the distal aspect of this tooth. But the problem when we're trying to do the distal aspect of this tooth is that the teeth are a little bit imbricated, a little bit crooked. So it's difficult. A lot of the times when you're using a clear strip on an anterior tooth, you can use the back of your finger to kind of get that sort of contour of the back of the tooth. In this case, because the tooth is slightly overlapped, it's difficult. So we're going to have to shape that out at a later date. The teeth are a little bit up and down, and we could have placed a little bit of extra length on these teeth, but I think in the the sort of golden ratio between the sort of the length of these teeth and also the width of them, it wouldn't look great. And I think that the upper right one will probably look a bit too long if we were to place anything. And also the kind of brief that the patient had at the start, the consent process was, this is what we're going to do. And sort of adding things on without consent can also be a little bit, it's wrong essentially. But another kind of thing you want to be checking as well is obviously you're looking at the tooth straight on, and you need to be looking at the tooth from lots and lots of different angles. And what a lot of newly qualified dentists forget to do is they forget to check the buccal eminence. So if you were to look straight down the tooth with your mirror, you can, a lot of the times, if you've bulked out the buccal aspect of the tooth can feel a bit bulky for the patient. So what I'm doing here is obviously I've given it a bit of a shape with my instruments, but I'm essentially just shaping out the buccal aspect of this with my diamond fast handpiece here. And I know I mentioned previously that I didn't use that because it creates that kind of micro abrasions in the tooth that can be noticeable. But if you need to really remove a significant amount of composite, especially buccally as I'm doing here, it can just take forever and ever with my white stone. And you can do it with a white stone. Another thing with the white stone, if you use it loads, you get that kind of burny smell from it. And also, it's not designed to remove a lot of material, so it can wear down quite significantly as well. So obvious, just use the right burr for the right tool. And then once we've sort of taken down some of the buccal aspect of this tooth, we kind of have a little look palatal, and I do like to use a rugby shaped ball just to remove the palatal aspect. This gives me a nice contour palatally. Once we've got the correct shape buccally, we can see here that we've got this kind of nice kind of buccal eminence. It looks good. It doesn't feel bulky. I'm going to use my white stone then just to polish out those micro abrasions, and then I'm using this polishing wheel here. These polishing wheels are absolutely fantastic. So now I've got to address the problem that there's no open contact between the two mesials of these teeth. So I'm just going to try and break that a little bit with an ultrasonic. It doesn't work very well, and also the ultrasonic's got a lot of energy, so you've got to be a bit careful. And then I just use a finishing strip. These finishing strips are great because they've got that kind of cutting surface as you push it down, so any kind of sort of loose bond is just going to come away. And then obviously you can just shape out the kind of micro ledge here problem with a finishing strip is if you use it too much, it is very, very abrasive, and you might create an open contact between the two teeth, and also you might cause like a little black triangle to occur between the two teeth as well, which it can be quite unsightly. But in this case, it's worked quite well. So the contact's open. I'm just going to do another quick kind of polish up with my diamond tipped, my white stone and my polishing burr. We pop the rubber dam off and we have a little look, and it looks absolutely fabulous. And what I'll do is I'll just do a little bit of a comparison here so we can see, just here we can see we've got the before and the after, and it looks really, really nice. Patient was super, super happy. And just things like this, dead easy. If you're newly qualified and you're just starting out in dentistry, and these types of cases, they're just slam dunk, dead easy. So thanks for watching. Dead quick episode today. We've got live cases every Friday. So we record a root canal and we talk about that root canal, and every single case each week is always really, really difficult. Lots of learning experience. We've got a giveaway as well. We've got a 30,000 subscriber giveaway. We are very, very close to getting to 30,000 subscribers. We're giving away a Root ZX Apex locator. What I want you to do is I want you to subscribe. I want you to comment an endo question or even a dental question in the comment section below. And 3, you got to hit that notification button. You do all those 3 things, then you're in for the draw. And I'll see you next time in our next restorative video. Bye-bye.